Nouri al-Maliki's edict that no one's going to be referred to court until he approves it. Now, not only are we worried about corruption, but we're worried about the corruption, tens of billions of it, going to supply the insurgents that are killing Americans, while other Americans are there fighting, all Americans there are fighting to keep Prime Minister Maliki in office. It's not just our concern about corruption around the world. It's our concern about corruption where Americans are dying to support a government that appears to many of us as so corrupt it doesn't have the support of its own people.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond?
Certainly.
First of all, we're not fighting to keep Prime Minister Maliki in office. We are fighting to help the Iraqis to develop a democratic government that can provide for its people. Prime Minister Maliki is the leader of Iraq who was, out of an election process, made the Prime Minister of Iraq by the Iraqis, not by the United States. So we're not fighting to keep him in office. We're trying to support the government of Prime Minister Maliki so that it can deliver for its people.
I appreciate that.
I want to repeat, Mr. Chairman,
yep.
Any order, any law that tries to shield ranking officials of any rank from prosecution or from investigation would be opposed by the United States. And we've been very clear with the Iraqi government that we do not, that we would not tolerate, in fact it would not be supported by the United States to have any official, no matter how high ranking, immune from prosecution.
Mr. Cummings.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Madam Secretary, it's good to see you.
Yes.
You're no doubt on the front lines of this war in Iraq, and no amount of military surges or blank checks we write for this war will resolve the complex ethnic and religious conflicts that plague Iraq and its neighboring countries. Victory in Iraq is not possible without political reconciliation, and I'm extremely concerned about whether corruption in the Iraqi government is undermining our mission. 4 years after we toppled Saddam Hussein's regime, the Iraqi government remains the third most corrupt country in the world, according to Transparency International. And State Department IG Stuart Bowen, your IG, characterized it as a second insurgency. Corruption, and this is why the discussion here is so important, corruption funds terrorists who attack our troops. Corruption fuels sectarian divisions, corruption stymies reconstruction efforts, and certainly it erodes confidence in the Iraqi government. We've been told time and time again, when the Iraqis stand up, we can stand down. But I do not see how this is possible when the Iraqi people do not seem to have a leg to stand on. The agency that has the vital responsibility for fighting corruption in Iraq is your agency, the State Department. Yet I have serious questions about the job the department is doing. The committee has been investigating the effectiveness of anti-corruption efforts in Iraq, and what we learned are the following, and they are simply astounding. The State Department established 2 groups in the U.S. Embassy to address corruption in Iraq, the Anti-Corruption Working Group and an Office of Accountability and Transparency. We learned that these organizations have suffered from a lack of leadership, a lack of direction, and a lack of coordination. Coordination is so poor that the Office of Accountability and Transparency actually boycotted the meetings of the Anti-Corruption Working Group. We asked the former head of the Office of Accountability and Transparency whether he was aware of any coordinated U.S. strategy to fight corruption in Iraq, and his answer was no. We asked another embassy anti-corruption official for his views, and he told us, you have got a system where the coordination is lacking. Here is what Michael Richards, the Executive Secretary of the Anti-Corruption Working Group, told us when we asked him what the working group had accomplished, and I quote, I would like to be able to say that we've done quite a bit in this area, but unfortunately we have not. This is very troubling, but the criticism does not end there. Independent investigators were also highly skeptical. Stuart Bowen, your agency's Inspector General, has investigated your anti-corruption programs, and he testified about his findings before the Oversight Committee, and this is what he said. He said U.S. anti-corruption efforts have suffered from poor coordination and focus. This is what he said, your guy. No strategic plan for this mission was ever developed. David Walker, the head of the Government Accountability Office, released a report at our hearing finding that the United States Ministry capacity development efforts have suffered from a, quote, lack of overall direction, and that the State Department's efforts are, quote, fragmented, duplicative, and disorganized, unquote. Secretary Rice, fighting corruption in Iraq is essential for our mission to succeed. But your own officer, your own officials, and independent investigators told the committee that the department's efforts are in disarray. The other side has said we need to tackle the problem. You've said it's your #1 priority. It's very important to you. But it seems as if there are problems, and I just wanted to have your comments on the things that your people said. Now, this is not some pie in the sky, somebody looking down and just criticizing you. This is your own department.
Well, first of all, let me just say that there are an awful lot of people working on these anti-corruption programs, and they're doing it at great risk because it means they have to get outside the green zone very often, and they have to go out and they have to deal with ministries, and they have to deal with places where there's very little personnel that is skilled, and they're trying to build systems where there were no systems. The coordination for these programs is under a senior officer of the ministry assistance teams who works directly for or through the Deputy Chief of Mission for Ambassador Crocker. That person is responsible for the coordination of these efforts. I will tell you, it is sometimes very difficult when one day you can go out and the next day you may not be able to go out. And I know that there is some frustration in some of the Iraqi agencies with the pace of some of the programs. But I also know that when you have people who are challenging old ways of doing business in Iraq, in some of these embassies, in some of these ministries, in some of these organizations, that you're going to get some of the comments that you're getting. But these programs are coordinated. Ministry assistance is coordinated through a very senior officer in Baghdad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Cummings. Mr. Micah?
Thank you. Well, Secretary Rice, our committee has a very important responsibility. As you know, it's the Principal Oversight and Investigations Committee of Congress. I've been honored to serve on it for 15 years, and I think all of us want to make certain that you all do the best job, and we make certain that you do the best job.